Why did you want to be a police officer?
It's all I ever wanted to do. Both my parents were New York City cops right here. Grew up in a law enforcement family. It's all I ever wanted to do. I just wanted to help people. I moved up the ranks extremely quick. When I was in the academy, I was in charge of my class. I was my class commander. Upon graduating, I received the Commissioner's Award for the trainee that exhibits the most leadership. I was the first in my class to make detective. It took me a year after I got out to make detective, and that was probably one of the most proud moments of my life. While I was there, I was working as a drug detective. Saw a guy selling drugs on the street. We went to stop him. The guy threw the drugs and ran. He was ultimately chased and kicked in the back door of a woman's home. Other cops went in and they were able to place the guy under arrest. We secured the drugs from that he had thrown that we saw him selling. You know, stuff like that in Baltimore, honestly, it happens every day. It's nothing that's out of the norm or necessarily a big thing. Unfortunate thing was that this guy kicked in the back door of a woman who was the girlfriend of another cop that I didn't know personally in a different part of the city, an off-duty cop. After he was placed in our transport wagon and sent down to the city jail, the sergeant spoke to the off-duty officer. They had some sort of communication, and the sergeant on the radio called the wagon back, brought the suspect back into the house, and they brought him into a back room where he was assaulted. Ultimately, I found out later on that he had his ankle broken, and you know, he had also said that he was assaulted and beat. At that time, all I could think about was, you know, that as cops, we needed to, you know, police ourselves. You know, I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't become a cop to get justice. Or street justice. I'm sorry. I became a cop to get real justice. And you know, I spoke to my parents, who, like I told you, were both New York City cops that night, and I tried to report about, you know, what had happened. I didn't want to be a part of that. What happened that night was wrong, no matter how it happened. If, you know, you had done that, if somebody else had done that, nobody would have even thought twice about taking you to jail. It's never okay to beat a handcuffed suspect. You know, we're supposed to uphold the law. I tried to report it that night and was told that if I snitched about what happened, that it would be the end of my career. After that, it was like a roller coaster that I just couldn't get off of. I had to deal with, you know, being called a snitch and a rat by sergeants and other officers. I had multiple times I called for backup, and nobody came to back me up, you know, in dangerous situations, chasing a felony drug suspect. Nobody from my squad told me they didn't want to ride with me because I talked about what had happened. I had a sergeant call me and threaten me at my house and tell me I better pray to God I'm not the star witness. Somebody placed a dead rat of mine on my wife's car. It kept going even from there. I was moved around to the point where I didn't even know where I was supposed to be going to work. I didn't know where I was reporting on a daily basis. It just got to the point where I couldn't do my job. The badge I had didn't mean anything. I was being told, hey, for the next 12 hours, I need you to stare at this alley, and I need you to tell me, you know, if anybody tries to rob or break into any of these houses, or stare at this trail and see if anybody comes up this trail for the next 8 hours. You know, the badge didn't mean anything at that point because I wasn't in a position to help anybody because I just wasn't even being allowed to. So I ended up making a decision to leave the police department ultimately and give up my dream, my childhood dream of being a cop. 98–99% of cops are great. They work all hours of the night. They, you know, make sure that they protect you and your families. You know, they do the right thing. Anti-cop mentality now and the untrust that the public has of officers right now, that's not because of the majority, the 98 or 99%, that's because of the 1 or 2%. I'm not gonna lie, you know, it's scary. You know, I ultimately ended up having to move in 1,100 miles. I lost my entire career. I went from having a rocket strapped on my back and blowing up the ranks to you know, ultimately being thrown down. So I'm hoping that, you know, the lawsuit that I filed, that it will help other cops, you know, feel the strength to come forward and, you know, talk about what happened. Talk about, you know, if they saw something, that they don't have to be afraid, that we're here to help you, you know, and that they could actively police the police themselves. You know, we're not above the law, and I'm just hoping that that's what I'd ultimately like to see happen with this whole thing, is that, you know, it's going to instill that integrity, that citizens could look and, you know, read your guy's article, or, you know, look at me and say, look, not all cops are bad. And you know what? He's right. Most cops do good things.